The Dhamma sermon is delivered by the pioneer and chairperson of United Bhikkhuni Sangha International Parishad Sri Lanka, chairperson Sri Sangamitha Foundation, the editor of Therini newspaper and meditation teacher Venerable Maharagama Uppalawanna Theri.
Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajasa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang badanta Dhammasavana kalo Ayang badanta Dhammasavana kalo Ayang badanta. Homage to the Buddha. May Ratanatraya bless you all. Teruvan Saranai. Good day to you all. Dhamma friends, today I am going to talk about our mind. While investigating and analyzing the mind, I will take some facts from several suttas of Majjhima Nikaya. One is Samadhitta Sutta and the other is a very important sutta which talks about the mind, the Vattupama Sutta or the simile of cloth. What do you mean by simile of cloth? Let's see what the Buddha said about this cloth and the mind. While residing in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's Arama, the Buddha addressed the bhikkhus. The Buddha said, "Bhikkhus, our mind gets defiled. It gets impure. So, it's like a cloth which is impure and defiled." The Buddha says, if a dyer tries to dye some color, red, yellow, blue or any color, you can't dye it in a nice way if the cloth is not pure and it is stained. So the Buddha took this simile from a cloth. So the Buddha takes the mind as a cloth. We know if a pure white cloth gets defiled and impaired, we don't like it. If it gets stained, we don't like it. So we have to clean it. We have to wash it properly and clean it. Likewise, the Buddha said, we have to clean our mind from the defilements. The bhikkhu or the disciple has to know whether his mind is impure or not. When the bhikkhu knows that his mind is impure and defiled, what should he do? What should the bhikkhu do if he comes to know that the mind is defiled? The Buddha said, we have to get our mind clean. How? We have to get enough of courage, the virya or the Vayama, and think of the Dhamma, and think of our mind. So, the Buddha said, we have to believe in the Buddha's word. Normally, the Dhamma is called as the Buddha's word. And this Dhamma always tells us how to keep our mind clean and how to develop our mind. In fact, the whole Buddhism or the whole words of the Buddha teaches us that the mind should be kept pure and to get rid of defiles, to remove defiles and get it cleaned. I will take few examples from Dhammapada, which appears in Kuddaka Nikaya. Yata agarang duccannang butti samati vidyati evang abhavitang chittang rago samati vidyati. What does this verse tell us? It says, Yata agaran ducchanna butti samati vidyati. When our houses are not very well, the roof is not made very well, if the roof is not covered very well, what will happen when the rain comes? When the rain comes, our house gets wet. Likewise, evam abhavitang chittang. Chitta is our mind. Abhavitang chittang. Abhavitam means not trained, untrained. Our untrained mind gets polluted, get defiled, get impaired. So, then what should we do? The bhikkhu has to clean this mind. Otherwise, what will happen? What did the Buddha say? Rago samati vidyati. Raga, it's raga. Sometimes we call raga the lobha, the greedy, the greediness. We are greedy. We are greedy for everything. Sometimes we call it tanha in Pali. So this raga, this desire, tanha, makes our mind polluted, defiled. So how should we get rid of this raga or lobha? We should train our mind to give dana. What is dana? Generosity. If our mind is trained to give dana or to become generous and to give what we have to the people that do not have anything, or sometimes if they are hungry, we can give them food. If they do not have clothes, we can give them clothes. Like that. This is generosity, dana. And if we train our mind like this, for sharing and caring for others and give dana, give whatever we have to share with others, those who do not have. Sometimes we give clergy. We give that thinking that it is a wholesome deed and we get merits. And giving any other person also we get merits. But that is puja. It we call offering. Then again the Buddha says, Yata agarang Channang Vutti na samati vijjati Evang subhavitang chittang Rago na samati vijjati. This is a twin verse and this is the second verse of the first one that I uttered. This says, Yata agaran suchanna. The house which is built up well and the roof is built up very well. Rain doesn't come to the floor of the house. It doesn't get wet. Simply. So, our mind also like that. If the roof is very well built up, the house doesn't get wet. Like that, our mind also doesn't get caught of rag or the lob thoughts, and our mind doesn't get polluted. This is the simple meaning of these two twin verses in the Dhammapada twin vagga. Then, once again I want to tell you about the Vattupama Sutta and about the cloth. What does the Buddha talk about the cloth? The cloth gets defiled or impure easily, and our mind also gets impaired and defiled easily with our mind thoughts. We call it in Pali Chaitasika. So sometimes we get Chaitasikas like Koda, Issa, Machariya, Mana, like that. And sometimes our mind becomes angry with the anger thoughts. When the jealous thoughts come to the mind, it becomes jealous. And when we get anger thoughts, what will happen? We will become aggressive. We will start scolding somebody, and sometimes if it grows some more, we might assault somebody. We might scolding and assaulting somebody like that. But if we can control our mind, we can stop it then and there. So this aversion and envy, we have to control. All these defilements or the Chaitasikas or mind thoughts come to our mind when it is not controlled. That is a message I wanted to give you. The message is that we have to always keep our mind trained. It should be kept under training and always making pure. It's like we have to keep our mind like pure white cloth. When we talk, sometimes we say, oh, it's like pure white. Pure white. So, actually mind is basically pure white. But when the Chaitasikas or mind thoughts come to this mind, it gets according to that thought. Then the mind acts according to that Chaitasika. That is what this Vattupama Sutta says. So the Buddha talks about 16 Chaitasikas or the defilements in this sutta. But according to the time, I'm not going to talk about all those things. Once again, I will talk about what the Buddha has said about the mind. He always says, Attanam damayanti pandita. Attanam damayanti pandita. That means, who is the pandita? Pandita is a person who is well trained in Dhamma. If you know Dhamma very well, if you are aware of Dhamma, you can control your mind. Once you are controlled, once your mind is controlled, then you can go through the Arya Magga. Then you can train your mind and you can make the sati. You can get a sati mind. Sati. Sati means the very well trained mind. Samasati we call it. Samasati in Arya Magga. If you can keep your mind well trained, then you have come to Samasati. Then that means if you have controlled your mind and you have become Sotapanna, the first fruit of the Arya Magga, then you are a person, you are a bhikkhu or a yogi or a recluse who has controlled the mind. This is the Magga that the Buddha has showed us. We have to go through this Magga and get rid of these all defilements. In Sabbasava Sutta also, we can find Sabbasava Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, the second sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya. We talk about how to get rid of defilements. We have to see, the Buddha says in that sutta, I'm not going to say about removing the defilements from the mind for the people who don't see the Dhamma. Who don't see the Dhamma, that means who don't understand. So, Buddha always talk about the mind and how to get it cleared from the defilements. So in Sabbasava Sutta, he talks about seven ways of cleaning the mind or the cleaning defilements from the mind. Seeing and restrained, moving, using, enduring and developing. This is how you have to make up your mind. When you get anger thoughts, what should we do? Then we have to think of we have to get virya. You have to get courage, thinking of the Buddha and the Dhamma and get rid of this anger and have metta feelings. What do you mean by metta feelings? The loving kindness. We have to have feelings of loving kindness. You know, karuna, mudita, metta, upekka. These are the very valuable mind thoughts which controls our mind. So these are the good mind thoughts that take us for the wholesome deeds. Therefore, we always should be aware of our mind, whether it is polluted or it has get defiled or impure. As we wash our clothes when they are dirty and they are defiled, like that we have to always keep our mind clean and pure. In Buddhism, we talk very much about greed, the tanha. Everywhere we talk about tanha, but we do not find a way to remove this tanha from our mind. This is a problem in our society, especially nowadays. Without developing our mind, without controlling our mind, we do believe in some other, Amisa Puja we call it. It is not the exact way to the Magga or the Arya Magga or the way to Nibbana. Sabba papassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. What does that verse say? It says that sabba papasa akaranam, not to do any evil deeds. Kusalasa upasampada, do wholesome deeds. Sachitta pariyo dapanam, do train and control your mind, develop your mind. Etang buddhan sasana, that is the advice or the instruction of the teaching of the Buddhas. It is not only one Buddha's instruction, but all the Buddha's instruction. Sachitta pariyo dapanang etang buddhana sasanang. Then again I feel talking about the mind in Dhammapada, the first Yamaka Vagga. Mano pubbangama dhamma, mano setta manomaya, manasache paduttena bhasati va karoti va tatonang dukkhamang veti chakkangva vahato padang. What does this verse tell us? Mano pubbangama dhamma. Mind comes first. Mind is great. Mind decides everything. If you do some deed with your polluted mind, that will give you back, that will return you a bad result. It's like a load, a very heavy load in a cart, comes behind the bull who is dragging that cart. It's very heavy. The bull cannot get out of that load. So, you have to do it somehow or other. And again I will say the other verse, the twin verse. Mano pubbangama dhamma, mano setta manomaya, manasache pasannena bhasati va karoti va tatonang sukhamang veti chayava anapayini. That says, Mano pubbangama dhamma, mind comes first, mind decides everything, and it is great, it does everything for you. And if you do some wholesome deed, that also comes after you. Like what? It's like your shadow. Shadow is not heavy. It's very light. You don't know whether the shadow is coming behind you. Shadow doesn't give you any trouble, but it comes after you. And it comes after you like a friend, like a very good friend. This is what we get when you have a good mind and when you train your mind. So, I suppose that we talk about our mind, and the time doesn't permit me to go further details. I suggest you to go through Majjhima Nikaya and read Samaditthi Sutta, Vatupama Sutta, Madhupindika Sutta, and Satipatthana Sutta, etc. And also Dhammapada. And one whole Vagga is there for Chitta Vagga. Read Chitta Vagga and learn. And learn how to control your mind, how to develop your mind. That is what you have to do. And that is what the Buddha said. So, Dhamma friends, I hope you must have learned something, some Dhamma words from this sermon. And if you have any problems, we can discuss later on. And may the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you all. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu loka sasanang. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu dhamma desanang. Akasatta ca bhummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkang tumang paranti.
The Dhamma sermon was delivered by the pioneer and chairperson of United Bhikkhuni Sangha International Parishad Sri Lanka, chairperson Sri Sanghamita Foundation, the editor of Therini newspaper and meditation teacher Venerable Maharagama Uppalawanna Theri.